Hello Seawolves and welcome back to the show. So that was another interesting 24 hours. It looks like the route towards Cape Horn starting to look more and more, well, it could get pretty epic actually. Well, we'll get into all of that. Of course, Conrad's mega controversial video, we'll talk about all of it. But before we do that, I hope you have something delicious in your possibly official Seawolf mug. I've got an official Reykjavik handcrafted mug from actual Reykjavik. So Reykjavikians, thank you. The coffee is very delicious in it. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. Cheers, wolves. Yeah, so, well, let's dive right first, before we get into anything else, controversial topic, I know. So Conrad sent in this very controversial video today. We made the decision that we are going to show it, right? So, but I'm just saying, if this is offensive to you, well, we'll start with the first part and I'll interrupt before we get to the actual controversial part. So here we go with the start.
So there we have it, a little boat tour, and it's 25 knots of wind, so it's been slowly reducing, and I wanted to do a little tour before I send some more sail up. So I'm about to shake out Reef 2 and redeploy the J3 as a stay sail, and so I sort of slowed the boat down a little bit to go and do a tour on deck, because when it is full-time anarchy out there, you do not want to be up on the front of the boat. So there we have it. We are out of the Indian, apparently. We've crossed the longitude of Cape Leeuwin, and it feels freaking amazing. However,
yeah, so epic footage, right? He obviously had some chafe on one of his shrouds. You can actually see it there. So he is using this tape to fix it. It's actually a pretty a regular occurrence. And yeah, cool to see him sort of climb the outrigging pole. By the way, many of you have asked the question, like, why are there numbers on there? Like, what are they for? And so actually, those are used to kind of move the attachment point of the clew outward. So it's a little bit like, you can understand that a catamaran, if it has like a front sail, you can make the front sail very wide because the sides of the catamaran are very wide. So you can like open the sail very far. But of course on a monohull you just don't have, it's like a pretty narrow hull. So you can't really put your sail very wide to the side, which makes it very open when the wind is kind of coming from the back. And so that's what those outhaulers are for. And the numbers there are just a visual guide for the sailors, so they have the clue point and they can kind of move it from the bottom of this pole all the way to the top. So they have a line that kind of moves that point. And the numbers are just an indication for them, sort of like where it's good, right? So what's kind of the optimal way to do it in that moment. And then, for example, if they want to tack in the same wind or jibe or whatever, then they know the number and they can just switch their entire setup to the other side. So that's why the numbers are there. They're just an indication. And that's what also the poles, that's one of the main reasons for having the poles, is to be able to set your front sails sort of extra wide. You know, so it's like a whisker pole, or like many boats have similar you know, kind of poling out, we call it in Dutch, like outpoling situations where you use a pole to kind of widen the amount, the spread of the head sail, and this is what they are used. So it's kind of like a built-in feature to be able to do that when sailing downwind. Now, so far so good. Now, of course, we get into the you know, extreme part of the video. So especially for the Australians watching this, you know, fair warning, and you know, Conrad's views do not represent my personal views, and denying capes is you know, serious business. People have been cancelled for less, so just fair warning there. Let's go to the video.
However, I've got a little bit of a bone to pick with Cape Leeuwin, because when you think about, you know, this race around the world, the race of the three great capes, Cap de Bonne-Espérance, Cape of Good Hope, Cap d'Orne, you know, these magical, powerful names that are a reflection of these crucial moments in the race. You know, you come down to the Atlantic, you turn left, you go underneath Cape of Good Hope, and bam, you're in the Southern Ocean. It all changes. And then you cruise through the Southern Ocean, you get to Cape Horn, and it's the bottom of a continent. And you're like, go around that, and then the race changes, the phase changes. But Cape Leeuwin, it's not really. It's kind of like one of those lineups where, you know, one of these things is not like the others, and that is Cape Leeuwin. It is neither the most western point of Australia. It is neither the most southern point of Australia. It is the most southwest point of Australia, but I mean, really, who cares? It is several hundred miles away from the racecourse, and does not indicate an inflection point. You know, there's no major transition. You know, yesterday was horrible, today is better, but, you know, not thanks to Cape Leeuwin. I think as a New Zealander, I'm not allowed to glorify anything that's Australian. So of course I'm sort of taking the mickey out of my cousins in Australia. But really, Cape Leeuwin, you know, you're the runt of the litter. You're nothing. Doesn't count. Particularly because apparently.
Yeah, so we decided to cut the video there. I think the essence of the message is pretty clear. That Conrad is pretty far from shore, and he feels pretty safe, you know, in the knowledge that right now in this moment none of the Australians can get to him. So I guess he's you know, having a little fun and giving a piece of his mind. Conrad is in essence saying that Australia has a small, insignificant cape. So make of that what you will. You know, I know that he's quite far away from shore, about 600 miles or so, but if I was an Australian, I'd know what I'd be doing right now. And meanwhile, if you're going in that direction anyways, with motorized vehicles, you might as well actually pick up Pip Hare and help her a bit towards shore. So you know, like two flies in one go, like a kill two birds with one stone, as we say in Dutch. Yeah. So get busy, Australians. Go.
It is at best a road sign, and I'm happy to mark this sort of milestone on this race around the bottom of the planet. But no, Cape Horn's the big daddy. Okay, gotta go. Go back. Come on, there you go. So that's one of the challenges of sailing down here, is I just said that it was 25 knots and I was about to shake the reef out. And then just as I was thinking that, bam! In comes a gust. As you can see, clear sky, no clouds, no indication that there's anything crazy happening. And then gust comes in at 37, 38 knots. Boat falls over, wipes out. Need to get it back on its feet. So yeah, so it's a weird place to sail because it's cold, the air is dense, so it's powerful. So you kind of need to sail undercooked, a little conservatively, to leave margin for these little surprises that come along unexpectedly.
And just for you guys to know, everybody keeps saying to me, Floor, it's Cape Leeuwin, it's Cape Leeuwin. Did you know that actually all of you are wrong? Because it is actually pronounced Cape Leeuwin, because that's a Dutch name, it's a Dutch word. It was named by the Dutch. We Dutch were there first, of course. And Leeuwin means lioness. Yeah? So Australia at that part in history, we're calling like the 1600s or so, was called Leeuwin's Land, the land of the lioness, literally. Cool name, right? And I think 100 years later or so, I think it was an Italian, I forget, but I think it was an Italian ship that actually named the cape after Leeuwin's Land, you know, the Dutch name for it, officially giving it the name Cape Leeuwin. But Cape Leeuwin means in Dutch Cape Lioness, right? So that's what it means. So that's actually a really cool name. And I also really don't understand what, because look at the pictures, like it looks actually pretty epic. Like it has this high sheer island, beautiful, you know, lighthouse tower, some epic cliffs and everything. I'm sure if it's bad weather, it'll look pretty gnarly and epic there. So I just want to say, you know, for you Australians, I'm not denying Cape Leeuwin. I think it's a beautiful cape that you guys have. And, you know, for Conrad, denying people's capes is serious business, just saying.
Le 19, demain au sud de la Tasmanie, à bord de Tout commence en Finistère Armor Luxe, une petite image, clac clac clac, là, et là ça s'est calmé, vous voyez, là on descend une vague, là ça monte, le bateau gîte un peu, et ça repart dans la prochaine vague, mais là ça fait 5 jours qu'on fait du bâbord à mur à 20 nœuds de moyenne, je peux vous dire, voilà quoi. Et voilà, ça fait plaisir de partager ce moment de... Bon, on va pas abuser non plus. Donc voilà, là l'intérieur du bateau, clac clac clac. Et c'est vrai que on a passé quand même un mois, enfin au moins 3 semaines. 3 semaines, ouais, voire plus. Voilà, allez, un petit panoramique, clac clac. Hop. Clac clac clac. Et voilà, bah allez, bonne journée à tous et puis allez, à plus dans le bus. Ciao.
Yeah, so after that controversy, let's get to the front of the fleet, because our 3 fast boys at the helm are having a lot of fun with each other, looks like. If we zoom in here a little bit, actually hop in with me. So Charlie is kind of doing his thing, and he is, as of this moment, about 20 nautical miles ahead of Yoann Richon, Paprika Preya, and of course Sebastian Simon, having had to spend some time on his bad foil now, immediately fell back quite a bit. So he's actually 97 miles back compared to Charlie right now. So that is kind of shocking to see how competitive and even winning he can be kind of on the right foil. So you can imagine what might have happened if he still had the other foil. He might have been leading right now, but at the same time it's also very visible what the handicap is whenever he has to use the bad foil. You can also see it in the direction, because it's obvious that he was still quite close when they were jibing, and now if you look at the delta between like how high he could sail. Like I'm not 100% sure, but I think that's if you look at the other two gents, like pretty much following the same path. And I think this is probably more a factor of the fact of him not having the foil, and therefore kind of not being able to sail optimally at the same angle. So I'm sure he could have sailed at the same angle as the other two men, but probably he would have been even more slower. So I think he took this particular path to kind of preserve some speed and not fall behind even more. But yeah, that's kind of a big impact, right? Even though they were all like so close together before. Now, as far as the weather goes, because this actually we have, so they're pretty much like a little bit past Point Nebo today, so that's kind of a big milestone, right? So they're kind of the most isolated in the race that they ever will be, further away from any land mass than is possible on planet Earth. You know, they always say the astronauts on the International Space Station are right now several times a day the closest people to them. So that's a pretty crazy thought right there. But we can see here the whole road towards Cape Horn, and we have the weather very nicely in here. And if I actually move to the routages, which I do have here, then we get a very beautiful overview of some of the predictions over the next 5 or so days, which will bring us more or less to the Cape. And well, this shows two things, and let's just hit play here and kind of animate it, because then you guys can see. So what stands out is that the leaders here are kind of very nicely surfing away on this following system, which is like slowly building as they pass through, but it never really falls away. So you can see that they pretty much keep good wind. It's always about 18, 19, 20 knots the whole way. So that is really cool. But at the same time, you can see that behind them here, so that's not so relevant for their Cape Horn experience, because they're going to be going in there basically with this weather here, as you'll see in a moment. But we do see some very strong stuff here, kind of right in between. So that's kind of between the leaders and kind of the group behind them. So they have to kind of wait, because then there's no system, and then there's this big, huge system kind of right in the middle between them. If we let the weather progress a little bit further, we see that it does kind of chase them towards Cape Horn. But, you know, they do get there sort of right before. But as you can see, pretty close, right? So that's 20, maybe 30 knots. So especially for the leaders, it looks like, I actually said yesterday, like it looks like maybe 20, like relatively calm. And it's still relatively good, but it does look like they will get some strong winds actually there. So it looks now that it's moving more towards the stronger end of the prediction than the lesser end of the prediction. So as far as you know, action-packed passing for the leading trio, that looks like more and more like a sure thing. So that's very cool, because it's a very big wind area, as you can see. So it's also not like a small puff or anything. It's this huge zone, so that makes it a bit more likely, even though it's 5 days out, right? So I always say don't trust that too much, and that's still here too. So it still could go like very, very different, but because it's a very big area, well, like predicting very big areas in that sense, while the wind speeds themselves can be wrong, the overall movement is a bit more often right. It's still like maybe 30% or so, so I'm not saying that it's like sure, but just saying this is like a pretty good chance of something like this developing. So that's actually could be a pretty, like I would say, almost optimal. Like 15 knots or something like that, of course, is great. And maybe especially for them as foilers, it would be even a chance to have like more speed, because they're a bit over the wind speeds where they can really like full force foiling. So they will have like 30 knots, maybe 40 in the gusts or something, so pretty strong. Not the 65 stuff that we had earlier, but still pretty intense. But it is kind of like right on the top of the kind of spectacle spectrum, if you know what I mean. So you know, this particular cape, because all of the weather and so both the wind, because it's very mountainous, it's pretty high over there. And at the same time you have the water, so this cape, why the weather is so crazy extreme there, is because it kind of compresses both the wind, so both the wind is kind of funneled through this like sort of tunnel, you could say. It's not really a tunnel, I mean it's miles and miles wide, but kind of between the tip of Antarctica and the Cape here. So all that water, all that wind has to kind of go through there. And as far as the wind also, it's basically mountainous on both sides, and that also sort of adds kind of like a pushing effect of, you know, like speeding up all of the forces that kind of move through there. And so, yeah, looks like it could be pretty spectacular. Now, if we look at the back for the same prediction, because we're not actually to the end of the prediction yet, you see that on top here, we also have another new kind of like strong system building. And as distance-wise, you can see that it's pretty much, you know, a little bit further out than the front skipper sort of at this particular moment in time. And yeah, any systems in this particular vicinity always kind of get sort of sucked into the Cape, let's say. So even though I don't think the prediction goes all the way to bringing this to the Cape, because that's going to be stopping, yeah, sort of almost now, you can see already that it's kind of drifting there. And that this is going to probably be causing a not like nice kind of top of the line, but very, very truly strongly, because here we have so base wind around near 40 knots, which means there will be gusts maybe up to like 50 or well, depending on the prediction, could be even higher. And so this is some pretty intense weather, and so that's telling us that for the second group, so that's kind of Boris and friends, or you should say vulnerable all the way up to Teamwork Snef, basically, are all going to get this like very strong weather. And here at the end of the possible prediction here, we see that kind of half of them are in it, but as they will get closer to the Cape, because the top is far from over there, they're all going to get that as they go towards Cape Horn. So that's probably for them about 5 days from now or so. So again, still far out, could go quite differently still. But I amend my prediction from yesterday that it's going to be a fairly middle of the road Cape passing. As far as actually passing the Cape for the second group, that's still too far out. It's just no way to know, really. But if this is any indication, and if this sort of keeps increasing as it moves with them to the Cape, it could mean that the second group will have a very, very epic, as in, you know, crazy balls weather at the Cape passing situation, a bit like the review of what we had in the last edition that I showed you guys in the last episode. So yeah, that's kind of the tactical analysis for, you know, the middle and the front of the fleet right now. Now, if you look a bit more at the back, so that's kind of what we can expect as far as the prediction goes. Let me like find sort of the moment now. Yeah, so well, Bohr is still in 8th position. So like I said yesterday, I said like, well, he's still in 9th, and I was a bit surprised. That's because my prediction was somehow a bit behind, and he actually already was in 8th position. So even though I thought I was wrong, turned out that I actually saw it right. So that was kind of cool. So right now we see Clarice with her freshly mended sail, doing good speeds. Same for, let me actually turn off the rootages because then we get more info. Same for Sam Davis, so they seem to be duking it out nicely together, but you know, good average speeds for the wind that they're in. They're like a bit, they're getting into some stronger stuff now, but they were a bit low. So the 24-hour averages seem still a bit low on their side. Benjamin Dutroux sailing away nicely. We see Roman Athanasio making good speed. Let's see, is Pip still on the map here? Yeah, so as you can see, she's really, you know, having a tough time making any way to the north. She posted another long video about how it's going. So you know, on her channel, so it's good also to check that there. Tanguy here, and kind of the rest of the well, non-foilers with Isabelle Joske and Ellen Rora now at the front. So so Ellen finally also managed to overtake Jean Lecam, who's now in position 20 behind Rora and Isabelle Joske. Epic footage of Isabelle Joske is turning into my favorite sailing videographer, because she is really taking the time to document like how epically nicely she's sailing. Take a look. Cool, huh? So that group ended with Benjamin Ferré doing very nicely also, and actually also getting a little bit closer now to Jean Le Cam over the last 24 hours. Then we have Tanguy, and kind of, well, he seems now a bit more isolated actually, as he's going to be passing Tasmania. And then, well, similar to the day before, we see this like very enormously just spread out group all over the place, with just this head group like a little bit closer, but the distances there still also pretty good. So Lewis Duke, of course Violet, still sailing very nicely with this group, by the way. Conrad Coleman also in there. So for the Aussies that are watching, he's about halfway past Australia, so you know, with a good motorboat it's still catchable, I think. Then we have freelance. By the way, some of you asked me like who was shooting that epic footage that we kind of made the cinematic opening several shows before, with the huge waves and the epic violin music and everything. That was on freelance.com. So that was Girek Soudé who filmed that footage. Then we have Kajiro, of course, sailing away nicely also. Toot Good, Ollie, made a nice update also, by the way.
Hello everyone, it's Ollie on day 42 of the Vendeeglobe on board Toot Good. Yeah, I had another problem last night, this time with my hydraulic system for the keel. It's actually quite a big problem. It's not a problem that will ever cause me to stop racing, but it might be a problem that will cause me to sail a bit slower in certain conditions. I'll quickly show you what the problem is. What you can see here is my big hydraulic ram that moves the keel around, and this is the reservoir, and the reservoir is pretty much empty, meaning I'm losing a lot of hydraulic fluid. Unfortunately, inside the boat around the ram there is no oil anywhere, meaning it can only leak through the piston seal, which yeah, the oil drains straight into the water through the keel box. Well, what does that mean for me? It means that yeah, I don't know if you know, but I can in normal circumstances swing my keel 40 degrees from side to side. And now having a leak on one side of the ram, in a place that I can't fix at sea, impossible. It means that I won't be able to swing my keel to one side, meaning to port side. This in turn leads to the problem that I have much less righting moment when sailing on port tack, because I have to pin the keel in the central position. And this again, in downwind sailing, it's not that big of a problem, but the moment I start to reach around or sail upwind, there will be a performance drop, unfortunately. But things happen. If it was easy, everyone would do it, and I'm more determined than ever to keep sailing and yeah, tick off the miles towards Les Sables-d'Olonne. I'll give you an update again soon. Cheers, bye-bye.
And then Anton Kornek, we have Jean Jinju, of course, still kind of stuck in the south, but almost kind of getting towards that corner of the ice exclusion zone towards Cape Leeuwin also. And then all the way in the back we have Manuel Cosin battling a little bit with Fabrice Amadeo, and all the way in the back we have a letter group with Dennis van Weinberg. And that's the tactical update of today. Again, Conrad's views on capes do not represent my personal views on capes, just so you Aussies know that. And that's it for the show today. Of course, make sure to like, subscribe, and see you in 24 hours. Ciao, Wolves!